Okay, so today we're going to take a look at dividing by zero. In order to understand why we're not able to divide by zero, we're going to read a story. This story comes from the book The Number Devil. In The Number Devil, there are two main characters, the Number Devil and Robert. Robert is the boy who, when he falls asleep, he dreams about the Number Devil, and in each dream, the Number Devil teaches him something new about math and numbers. And so the dream we're going to read about is when the Number Devil explains to Robert why dividing by zero is undefined or impossible. Follow along as I read the story to you. In time, Robert grew accustomed to dreaming of the Number Devil. He even came to look forward to it. True, he could have done without his know-it-all attitude and his temper tantrums. You could never tell when he'd blow up and yell at you. But it was better, so much better, than being swallowed by a slimy fish or sliding down and down into a black hole. Besides, Robert had made up his mind to show the Number Devil that he was no fool. You have to put people like him in their place, Robert thought as he got ready for bed one night. The big ideas he has about himself, and all because of a zero. He wasn't much more than a zero when you got down to it. All you had to do was wake up and he was gone. But to put him in his place, Robert had to dream of him, and to dream of him he had to fall asleep. And Robert suddenly noticed he was having trouble doing so. For the first time in his life, he lay awake in bed, tossing and turning. What are you tossing and turning for? All at once, Robert realized his bed was in a cave. There were weird paintings of animals on the stone walls, but he had no time to study them because the Number Devil was standing over him, twirling his walking stick. "Rise and shine, Robert," he said. "Today's our division day." "Must I?" Robert asked. "You might have at least waited until I was asleep. Besides, I hate division." "Why?" "When you add or subtract or even multiply, things come out even. What bugs me about division is that you get this remainder." "The question is when." "When what?" "When you get a remainder and when you don't. That's what counts. You can tell just by looking at them that some numbers can be divided evenly." "Right, like even numbers, which can all be divided by 2. "No problem. I'm pretty good at 3s as well." 9 divided by 3, 15 divided by 3, and so on. It's like multiplying in reverse. 3 times 5 equals 15. So, 15 divided by 3 equals 5. "I don't need a Number Devil for that. I can do it on my own." Robert shouldn't have said that. The Number Devil, his mustache quivering, his nose reddening, his head growing bigger and bigger, jerked Robert out of bed. "What do you know?" the Number Devil shouted. "Just because you've learned the multiplication table, you think you know all there is to know. Well, you know nothing, nothing whatsoever." "There he goes again," thought Robert. "First he drags me out of bed, then he hits the ceiling when I tell him I can do division. Here I come to a rank beginner out of the goodness of my heart, and no sooner do I open my mouth than he starts making wisecracks." "The goodness of your heart!" Robert cried. All things being equal, he would have upped and left. But how do you up and leave a dream? He looked all over the cave, but could find no way to leave. "What are you looking for?" "A way out. If you go now, you'll never see me again. I'll leave you to choke on Mr. Bockel's pretzel problems or die of boredom in his class." Robert knew when he was licked. "I apologize," he said. "I didn't mean to offend you." "Good," said the Number Devil, his anger subsiding as quickly as it had come. "Now, 19. Try 19. See if you can divide it without a remainder." Robert thought and thought. "The only way I can come up with," he said at last, "is to divide it by 19, or into 19 equal parts. Doesn't count, the Number Devil replied. It's too easy. Or divided by 0. Out of the question. Out of the question? Why? Because it's forbidden. Dividing by 0 is strictly forbidden. What if I did it anyway? Then all mathematics would come apart at the seams. He was about to lose his temper again, but he managed to pull himself together. Tell me, said the Number Devil, what would you get if you divided 19 by 0? I don't know, 100 maybe? Or 0, or anything in between. But didn't you say when you were talking about the threes that division was like multiplying in reverse? If that's the case, then 3 times 5 equals 15 means that 15 divided by 3 equals 5. Well, now try that with 19 and 0. 19 divided by 0 is, say, 19. And in reverse, 19 times 0. 19 times 0 is 0. You see? And no matter what number you take, you always get 0, which means you must never divide a number by 0. Okay, so let's review what we just read with dividing by 0. First, let's remind ourselves what property helps us prove dividing by 0 is undefined. That property is inverse operations. That means that multiplication and division are inverse operations, which means they are the opposite of each other. Remember the Number Devil we said, 3 times 5 equals 15. So, what divided by 3 equals 5? Well, we take that 15 again. 15 divided by 3 equals 5. So you can see that we're just doing the problem in reverse. That's inverse operations. Okay, so now let's try that same idea with 19 divided by 0. Let's pick an answer for 19 divided by 0. Even though we know it's actually impossible, let's try 19 divided by 0. So if we say that 19 divided by 0 equals 19, okay, so we're going this way. If we then take that in reverse with multiplication, we'd have to say that 19 times 0 equals, well, if we go in reverse, it should be this 19 over here. But we know that anything times 0 is 0. So 19 times 0 cannot equal 19. 19 times 0 equals 0. So do you see how when we divide by 0, there's no possible answer that will work in reverse? Okay, or we can try 19 divided by 0. Again, first we go this way, so then if we go the other way, that would mean that 0 times 0 equals 19. But again, we know that that's not true because 0 times 0 equals 0. What property tells us any number times 0 is 0? That is the 0 property. Remember that rule from multiplication. Any number times 0 always equals 0. Okay, so in the end, we need to answer this question. Why can we not divide by 0? Well, we can say dividing by 0 is undefined defined because no possible quotient, remember that's the answer, no possible quotient will satisfy the inverse operations of multiplication. Oops. Not spelling very good tonight. And division. Okay, so dividing by 0 is undefined because no possible quotient or answer will satisfy the inverse operations of multiplication and division. No matter how many different possible answers you think of, none of them will work in reverse because of the zero property. This concludes our notes on why dividing by 0 is undefined. Be sure to go and answer the 2 questions in the note check.